Hello viewers, today I am going to tell you about Vadi, Samvadi, Anuvadi and Vivadi, these four kinds of swar. Swars are the base on which the whole structure of Indian rag is developed. A rag is the combination of different kinds of notes which play their own specific role in the development of a rag. But first of all, it is essential to know what is rag. In old Indian Sanskrit texts, rag has been defined as Ranjati iti raga, which means which colors the mind is rag. Just as a painter paints the blank canvas with colors and forms, so is the human mind, which can be colored or affected by the pleasing and soothing sounds of rag. In fact, a rag is a melodic framework or a peculiar combination of sounds having the competency of pleasing the minds of the listeners. In the other words, we can say that each rag is a different series of notes within the octave, which reveals the Indian music. Not going in the detail of the origin of rags and the mention about rags in the old Sanskrit text or the principles of making of a rag. But it is essential to know that each rag evolves from one of the scales. Each rag has its own identity on the basis of its scale, and each one of these rags can be differentiated from each other by the prominence of certain notes and by the sequence of the particular notes. So we can say that each rag is a fine combination of swar which please the minds of the listeners. Thus, each swar carries its own importance in the development of a rag. The accurate and the harmonious combination of all these notes maintain the melody of a rag from the beginning to the end. Since all the notes have different roles to play in the development of a rag, so on the basis of their importance while performing, the swars have their categorized into four different kinds, namely Vadi, Samvadi, Anuvadi and Vivadi. Though there is no sharp line between all these swars, yet these four kinds of notes play different role in the rags. For example, Rag Yaman has Ga as Vadi Swar and Ni as Samvadi Swar. All other notes except Ga and Ni, which are the Vadi-Samvadi of Rag Yaman, Sa, Re, Ma, Pa and Dha are Anuvadi Swar of Rag Yaman. The four kinds of swar mentioned in the old treatises on the Indian music has been found in Pandit Bhatkande's book, Bhatkhande Sangeet Shastra Part 1, like this. Prati rage lakshitvayash chaturvidah swar budhe Vadi-Samvadi-Anuvadi-Vivadi nityashah, which too means that every rag has four kinds of notes, which are Vadi, Samvadi, Anuvadi and Vivadi. While singing or playing, the harmonious combination of all the notes maintain the melody of a rag throughout the performance. So while singing or playing, vocalists or instrumentalists have to be conscious of making the proper use of these all kind of notes in a proper manner. Now let's see what significance these different kind of notes carry in the performance of a rag. The first of all, Vadi Swar. In Hindustani music, apart from Sa, which is the key note in any rag, each rag has one predominant note, which is known as Vadi Swar of that rag. This is the note that is used the most in a rag as compared to all other notes. In Sanskrit text on Indian music, Vadi Swar has been termed as the king of notes. It has been mentioned as Prayoge bohle swar Vadi rajayatra giyate, which means Vadi Swar is the maximum used note in a rag, and it is like a raja or a king in the territory of rag. A rag generally dwells predominantly in one or the other tetrachord of octave, which are known as Purvang and Uttrang, the lower and the upper tetrachord. The predominance of either tetrachord depends upon the Vadi Swar of a rag, whether it is in Purvang or Uttrang. The modern musicologist Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkhande has mentioned in his book Bhatkhande Sangeet Shastra Part 1 that in a rag the predominance of Vadi Swar can be shown in many ways. Sometimes Vadi Swar is repeated again and again. Sometimes it is rested upon, and sometimes it is used in an important part of the musical composition. Thus, the maximum use of Vadi Swar in a rag makes it the king of all the notes. The musicians who are unable to present such an importance of Vadi Swar while performing cannot make its glory. Except the maximum use of Vadi Swar in a rag, it performs many other significant roles. For example, first is Vadi Swar helps in revealing a rag. It is the predominance of Vadi Swar which helps in revealing the rag. It has been mentioned in the old texts, Vaditi iti Vadi. For example, dha sa re ga, dha pa ga, re, dha sa re ga. In this combination of notes, ga note is maximum used and repeated again and again. It is halted at. Hence, it's obvious that ga is Vadi Swar in it. And Rag Bhupali has mirror-like clarity in this combination. Vadi Swar occupies such an importance in a rag that most of the rag begin and end up with Vadi Swar. The rag having the similar swars are differentiated with Vadi Swar. The predominance of Vadi Swar in a rag is not merely in its maximum use, but also in the rags having the similar swars. Such similar swars or such similar like ragas are differentiated only with Vadi Swar. For example, Rag Bhupali and Rag Deshkar are having the similar notes, but Ga note is Vadi in Rag Bhupali and Dha note is Vadi in Rag Deshkar. Therefore, these two rags are differentiated only with the predominance of Vadi Swar, which are in two different tetrachords of octave. Bhupali having Ga as Vadi is Purvang Vadi Rag, whereas Rag Deshkar having Dha as Vadi is Uttrang Vadi Rag. So these two rags dwell in the different tetrachords and hence are differentiated very easily and quickly. Rags of similar notes like Marwa Puriya and Sohni and many more examples may be mentioned, which are distincted from each other having different Vadi Swar and thus predominance of different tetrachords in rags. Vadi Swar also performs another very important function in a rag. Vadi Swar determines the time for singing or playing of a rag. In Indian music, every rag has a certain time for singing and playing. Vadi Swar is closely connected to a certain time of day and night in which that particular rag is to be sung or played. This simply depends upon the principle of predominance of the tetrachords in which the Vadi Swar of a rag falls, that is either Purvang or Uttarang. If the Vadi Swar is in Purvang or the first tetrachord, that is in between Sa Re Ga Ma, the rag is considered as Purvang Vadi rag or the Purvang dominating, and the time for such rag is determined in the Purvang of day and night, that is in between 12 of midday to 12 of midnight. Similarly, if the Vadi of a rag falls in Uttarang, that is in between Padha Nisa, the rag is considered as Uttarang Vadi or the Uttarang dominated rag, and the time for such rag is determined in the Uttarang, that is in between 12 midnight to 12 midday. Such is the time theory of Indian rags. Vadi Swar is one which helps in determining the time of Indian rags. Thus, we can say that Vadi Swar is the king of all notes in the kingdom of a rag. It discharges many important functions. Besides being the predominant note of a rag and differentiating the rags having the similar notes and thus giving the rag its own identity, it glorifies and maintains the melody of a rag from the beginning to the end. Not only this, Vadi Swar is also helpful in determining the time of Indian rags. Thus, Vadi Swar proves to be the king of all notes of a rag. The next is Samvadi Swar. Samvadi Swar is a note of second in importance in an Indian rag. In other words, Samvadi is a note having importance above all other notes in a rag except Vadi Swar. In every rag, Vadi and Samvadi are the two strongest pillars on which the whole structure of rag is developed. As the Vadi Swar has been mentioned in our traditional writings, Raja Swar or the king of notes. Similarly, Samvadi has been denoted as a mantri or a minister to the king, which is the note next in importance to Vadi Swar. While explaining Vadi Swar, I had stated that there are two different tetrachords of Indian musical scale known as Purvang and Uttarang. Vadi and Samvadi Swar remain in these two different tetrachords. Let me explain. Saregama is Purvang, the first tetrachord or the lower tetrachord, and Padhanisa is the second tetrachord or the upper tetrachord. If the Vadi Swar of any rag is in Purvang part, Samvadi has to be in Uttarang. Samvadi Swar always fall in the other tetrachord of the one which has Vadi Swar. Because as a principle, Samvadi Swar is always at the interval of fourth or fifth note from Vadi's note or Vadi Swar. For example, if the Vadi note of any rag is in Purvang or the first tetrachord of the scale, that is from in between Sa Re Ga Ma Pa, this is extended Purvang, Samvadi Swar has to be in Uttarang or in between Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa, again this is extended Uttarang. This is the principle of fourth and fifth note or known as the cycle of the fourth and fifth, which means Samvadi Swar has to be at the distance of fourth or the fifth note from Vadi. The fourth Samvadi Swar from Vadi is known as Shadaj Madhyam Bhav, and the fifth Samvadi Swar from the Vadi is known as Shadaj Pancham Bhav. The Vadi-Samvadi pairs of Shadaj Madhyam Bhav are Sama, Repa, Gadha, Mani, Pasa, then Sapa, Nima, Dhaga, Pare, Masa. Similarly, the Vadi-Samvadi pairs for the Shadaj Pancham Bhav are Sapa, Redha, Gani, Masa, then Sama, Niga, Dhare, Pasa. Mostly Vadi-Samvadi Swar of any rags are based on this pattern. Many such examples can be mentioned. For instance, Rag Bhupali has Ga as Vadi and Dha as Samvadi, which is the fourth note of the Vadi, and hence it is based on Shadaj Madhyam Bhav. Rag Tilang has Ga as Vadi and Ni as Samvadi, which is the fifth note of Vadi, and it is based upon Shadaj Pancham Bhav. Both these rags have Vadi in Purvang and Samvadi in Uttarang. On the contrary, Rag Bilawal has Dha as Vadi and Ga as Samvadi. The Vadi Swar of Rag Bilawal is in Uttarang while its Samvadi is in Purvang. Though Rag Bilawal is Utrang dominating rag, but its Vadi-Samvadi are based upon Shadaj Madhyam Bhav. There are innumerable examples of Vadi and Samvadi Swar which depict the cycle of the fourth and fifth notes. Thus, here lies the importance of Samvadi Swar in the development of rags, which play the significant role next to Vadi Swar. The next term which I am going to explain is Anuvadi Swar. Apart from Vadi and Samvadi, all other notes of a rag are known as Anuvadi Swar. In some texts on music, Anuvadi is referred to as a servant in the territory of rag, of which the Vadi is like a king and Samvadi is like a minister. But Anuvadi may be termed as Praja or the public of the king Vadi note. For example, Rag Bilawal has Dha as Vadi and Ga as Samvadi. The rest of the notes Sa, Re, Ma, Pa, Ni except Dha and Ga are termed as Anuvadi Swar of Rag Bilawal. Similarly, in Rag Yaman, Ga is Vadi and Ni is Samvadi. So, all other notes in Rag Yaman except Ga and Ni, which are Sa, Re, Ma, Pa and Dha, are Anuvadi Swars of Rag Yaman. Anuvadi Swar help in making of a rag complete. Any rag does not find its structure merely with Vadi and Samvadi notes. As in any territory of the realm, the king and the minister alone are of no importance without the public. So are the Anuvadi Swar to the Vadi and Samvadi in the territory of rag. The greatest musicologist of the modern age, Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkhande, has mentioned in his Bhatkhande Sangeet Shastra, Part 1, as the kundan is to diamond and it enhances the beauty of a diamond, when added to it, so is the role of Anuvadi notes, which enhance the beauty of Vadi and Samvadi notes. Thus we can say the structure of a rag is developed not only with its Vadi and Samvadi Swar, but along with the strong support of Anuvadi Swar of any rag. The next term is Vivadi Swar. Vivadi Swar is the note which commonly is not used in a rag. It is considered the enemy note in the reign of a rag, because it produces discord. In the Sanskrit text on Indian music, Vivadi has been described as Shatru Tulya Vivadin, which means the enemy like Vivadi Swar. Literally too, Vivadi denotes the Hindi word vivad, which means dispute. It depicts the character of Vivadi Swar. Commonly, such notes are not used in a rag. For example, Rag Bilawal is such a rag which is having all the notes as Shuddh, that is full tone notes. If we use any Vikrit Swar, that is flat or sharp note, in Rag Bilawal, it would definitely be a Vivadi Swar, which will lead to unpleasantness in Rag Bilawal. According to Pandit Ravi Shankar, the great sitar maestro, who has mentioned in his book My Music, My Life, that Vivadi Swar may not be played in a rag to which they do not belong. Very rarely, however, a Vivadi Swar will be used in a rag for a special effect of dissonance. This very special use of Vivadi Swar is done by experts, and that too very tactfully and for a very short time, to enhance the beauty of a rag. Normally, Vivadi Swar is not used in a rag, but very rarely it may be used with aforesaid terms and conditions. Nowadays, in some rags, Vivadi Swar carry very significant role. For example, the use of Komal Nishad, that is flat knee, in Rag Hamir, Kamod and Kedar. Moreover, in the rags like Bhairavi and Pilu, all the 12 notes, that is Shuddh and Vikrit, are used very tactfully in the form of Vivadi Swar. But its use demands a lot of perfection, otherwise the beauty of a rag will be damaged. Thus, we can say Vadi-Samvadi-Anuvadi and Vivadi. These four kinds of notes are the base on which the whole structure of Indian rag is developed. These are four kinds of swars have their own specific role in the development of a rag. Vadi Swar is the most important and maximum used note in a rag. Hence, it is called or it is known as the king of notes. Samvadi Swar is the second in importance note in any rag, and it is like a minister to the king note. It is always at the distance of fourth or the fifth note to the Vadi Swar. Apart from Vadi and Samvadi, all other notes in a rag are known as Anuvadi Swar. Except these three kinds of notes, there are Vivadi Swar also, which are not commonly used in a rag, but very rarely these are used in a rag. Thus, these four kinds of notes give form to an Indian rag. Thank you.